All right, hello. I just wanted to take a quick moment to walk you through your sixth learning module. Holy moly, it's crazy to think that we're already into the sixth week of the semester. So with that, I hope, first of all, I hope that you enjoyed the things that you learned around the organic label, really organic farming in general, and some of the components that go into having organic food, if you will. And so I hope you enjoyed the documentary In Organic We Trust and some of the articles and stuff that you viewed centered around organic. There usually is a lot of confusion around what the organic label actually means, this idea of industrial organic, if you will, and really, like I said last week, how something started out as really grassroots, very intentional in terms of soil health, pesticide use, those sorts of things, and then how we see this industry kind of start to make lots and lots of money, and then I would say maybe the intentions have changed, if you will. So with that, this week, we are moving into this idea of the ethics around really eating meat. So exploring different species of animals and the way in which they're grown, but also slaughtered, and then some alternatives to eating meat. So that's kind of where the industry has started to shift. For better or worse, if you will, there's a lot of information out there around eating bugs. There's a lot of information out there around this idea of lab meat, if you will, plant-based meat-like food. And there's a lot of research out there around whether or not that actually is sustainable in terms of the way that it's produced and those sorts of things, and B, if we're just creating another problem to then have to go and create a solution for that problem. So lots of information out there on both sides of that issue. So this week you're going to explore your final ethical orientation. So this week you'll be looking at natural law. It used to be what we would teach in this course is divine command, but we've shifted that language and kind of tried to broaden that into this idea of natural law. You have a documentary again that you're going to watch. This is that same kind of access as you used last week through that CWI library resource and Canopy. So the documentary you'll be watching this week is called At the Fork. This documentary I think it does a really, really good job of exploring, like I said, each species. So it'll start out with pork or swine or hogs and the production of getting basically like sausage, ham, bacon to your plate. It goes through the beef industry. It looks at chicken production. And I was reminded as I was previewing this video last week and creating your test and your test questions and those sorts of things, I was reminded why the chicken industry was the one thing that I did choose as I will no longer buy chicken at the grocery store. And I made that decision probably 5 or 6 years ago because of what I had learned around industrial chicken and some of the things that Tyson Foods, Foster Farms, those sorts of places, the way in which they raise those chickens. It was kind of the thing that I was like, this is a food issue that I feel passionate enough about that I'm willing to, again, vote with my dollar and say that I'm not going to support this industry at the grocery store. So we started raising our own backyard chickens for eggs, and I just don't eat chicken. It's not a necessary protein within my diet specifically, so something that I've chosen to do. Not for everybody, totally understand that, but this was a good reminder for me. So it'll look at all of those different aspects. It goes into a little tiny bit of this idea of like meat alternatives, but I did post some additional supplemental material for you in terms of meat alternatives. So this idea of eating bugs, this idea around lab-grown meat, if you will. And then you also have some information related to Idaho beef specifically. So I always think it's good to bring it back to this local level and really help you understand how the industry is at a local level. So your weekly quiz is specific to that information of At the Fork. And you'll want to make sure that you take the time to review that and then take that specific quiz. And then you do have your discussion board this week, all centered around this idea of natural law, so that ethical theory, as well as contributing to some supplemental questions associated with some of the supplemental material out there. So again, you kind of have similar 2 questions at the beginning, but then I'm asking you to like choose that stance. Should I eat the meat? Should I not eat the meat? Where do I fall on that spectrum, right? Maybe I choose to eat, for myself, like I choose to eat beef and pork because we raise hogs for butcher. And then I choose to eat beef because I have a friend that raises steers, and then we split half a steer with them every year. And then I choose not to eat chicken because, again, of the industry. This question of should we eat bugs is a fun one. I think a lot of people right out of the gate, they're like, oh my gosh, that sounds so disgusting, and why would I ever do something like that? There's a lot of food cultures that actually don't say ew, right? That is a part of their food culture and a major source for protein. A question centered around that lab-grown meat and some of the considerations there. And then again, this idea of raising cattle specifically in the state. And then you'll wrap out this week with your current events for what's going on within the news right now. And there's a lot. There's a lot of food issues right now in the news. There always are. So you shouldn't have any trouble there finding some information. So with that, that is your week 6 learning module, all about meat and the ethics associated with it. So with that, I hope you all have a fantastic week, and we'll tune in next week for what we've got on the horizon. Next week, we'll be talking about genetically modified food, or the new language is now bioengineered food. So we'll give some definitions there and help you understand why that's a food issue, and then provide some resources for that. So have a great week.